welcome back to the channel. This is ASA Studio channel for music producers and photo designers, alright, and so much more. Alright, so here we are in Photoshop, and I'm going to be showing you the step-by-step process of how to edit your beautiful shot. Alright, so this is the photo we're going to be using for the tutorial, and as you can see, we're going to be doing this edit one after the other. So I want you to pay attention to how I'm going to be doing this process. So alright, so but before that, I want to say a very big thank you for my fans out there, for everyone supported the channel one way or the other. To the new subscribers, I want to say I love you all. Thank you all for your support. Alright, so let's dive right into the tutorial. Okay, the first thing I'm going to observe in the photo, the first thing to do is to observe, to know what you want to correct, your goal. Now for this photo, the first thing I saw was the brightness. The brightness is actually too much, and to correct this brightness, it's actually a long work. It's a tedious work to do. You can just pick, go to the correct and the adjustment panel and then pick on the brightness and then turn it down. You see it's going to turn back to overall, and you can likewise use the blending mode. And if you want to do that, you start using your marks to paint with brushes, or you want to use the exposure, which is not even going to fix it at all, so you can see the difference. So how are we going to fix that? So I'll tell you how to fix that. We are going to use the camera raw filter, but before that, let's look at the other problems of the photo. Now you might look at the grasses and you might say, oh, this is actually so saturated green. You can be seeing a lot of greens, but it is not actually green. We can prove that. So let's go to the hue and saturation. Let's add hue and saturation, and let's go to the greens and see what happens when we desaturate. You see that nothing actually going on. It simply means these grasses are yellow. Let's reset the hue and saturation, and then let's go to the yellows, and you see desaturating it. You can see what's actually happening. You can change the hue, and it's going to affect the colors of the yellows. So I'm just going to reset this, and then we're going to go back to the yellows, and then we're going to desaturate it just like this, a little bit desaturated. In fact, let's desaturate it, and then let's change the hue to something like a little bit greenish, and we can leave that just the way it is. So like this to like this. Alright, so now let's create a stamp visible layer, and it is that I'm going to take to camera raw filter to fix the photo. Alright, so now let's go to camera raw filter, camera raw filter. Alright, so here we are in camera raw filter, and remember, we want to fix the exposure. But first of all, let's fix the white balance. We know the clouds is not supposed to be white, it's supposed to be blue and combination of white, not white entirely. And decreasing the exposure, like I said, will also affect the full photo. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is to correct the white balance. If you pick the white balance picker tool and then click on adjust, you see nothing's actually going to, so it's too bright to select the white balance. Please click, and so more, you get that. So how do you do that? You set it at auto, and then you see that it will help you correct it just a little bit more. Then you can turn on the temperature or increase whatever you want to increase. Now this is at 0 at the moment, so I'm just going to leave it the way it actually is. Now how do we correct? You can see the difference in our skin tone. If I turn it off, and you can see the greens and the yellows reflecting on our face, but this one is actually corrected, but the shot is in the afternoon. Okay, so now let's go to, we're not using the exposure, we're not using the contrast, we're using the highlight and the white. Okay, so bringing down the highlight or the white, which is the bright part, and you see what's going to happen. Here is the highlight. Take it down a little bit, and you see that we're actually getting some details in the highlight and the brighter areas. So bring it down then completely. I would like to leave it like that. So let's see, and we need to compare before, and then we need to compare after. So the face is looking just the way. We're just going to take it just a little bit down. Okay, alright, so that's looking okay to me. I'm gonna decrease the blacks and the shadows to also bring in more colors that we've lost through exposure. So if we can also decrease the exposure just a little bit, and fix the photo, and then we can increase the highlight. This time around, since we've decreased the exposure, I'm gonna leave the bright. Okay, so let's leave the texture alone because I feel like we have more texture. But if you want to add texture, you can add texture, but I just feel like this is actually okay for me. I'm going to leave it at 0. So I'm going to close the tab for now. We are in the basic tab. We're going to come back to it later. Let's go to the color mixer, and just little things we want to do before we go back and then start using our white, the color balance. Okay, so let's go to the luminance. Now I want to decrease the luminance of this bright part of our chest, and I guess this is the color right here. You can actually see. Okay, so now I'm just going to take it just way down a little bit, and the blues down a little bit, so to get that ahead. Let's take down the yellows, and we have something like this. Let's also take down the orange, which is her face. Okay, let's brighten up her face just like so, so it's as if she has some reflection and main reflective material. I'm going to take down the magenta, and then take most of the colors down a bit. Let's take down the greens too, and again the yellows. Okay, so I feel that is actually okay. Let's go to the saturation. Now for the saturation, I want to desaturate the greens and the yellows, so like so. I want it to match the mood of our skin color, so I'm not going to desaturate just everything. I just want to make her stand out in the photo. I'm going to increase the saturation of her face and the reds. Okay, so forget about all of that you're seeing. I'm going to increase the saturation of this one, and then the blues, and we're going to leave it like that. So by the way, you can see the little changes that are actually going on, especially this, which I'm supposed to fix with capture one. At times it's just so hard to fix those here. So that's actually okay, looking good. To the U, you can actually bring up this one so it looks familiar with the color around this side. Okay, so now that's enough. I'm going to close and then see before and after of the color mixer, so you can see before and you can see after we desaturated that. We're going to come back to it, but let's continue. Let's go to the calibration. She's fair skin. We're going to increase the primary color all the way up, and then bring back the blues just like so, and this creates a dramatic look. Okay, you can decrease the saturation and increase the saturation, but I feel the saturation is actually okay at 0. Let's increase the saturation of the red, and let's see what we get. Okay, so increase the saturation of the red, and you see some color have been brought. Skin texture, skin color. Okay, so now let's adjust the hue of the greens, and you can take it all the way up. So I'm going to take it all the way up like this to have this stunning look. Okay, so let's go back now and see what we made. So from this to this, okay, looks like a wonderful afternoon. Now back to the color mixer again. Okay, let's go back and then change the hue. Let's see the ones that's actually, I'm going to increase the greens of the hue, the aqua also increase it. Okay, let's increase that. The yellows, I'm going to push it back a little. Should we take it up? Okay, let's take it up. Let's take the yellows so it looks like the green. The orange, which is our face, we're gonna take it, push it back a little so as not to affect that. The red, we're changing the hue of let's click that if we have. Okay, so that looks amazing. For the luminance, let's see luminance of our face. Let's make it brighter. That looks okay to me. For the red, looks okay to me. All right, so that's actually good. Let's go back to the curve rather, and create an X curve. I'm going to increase the highlight. Oh, I guess we need to decrease the highlight. But let's increase the highlight, create an S curve, take this one back and create more contrast. Take this one back and then take this one all the way up. That's too much. Just small +7. Take this one +7 and -6 -6. Okay, so let's close it. Back to the basic tab, and I feel like nothing is missing. Just to decrease the black a little. All right, so let's see our before and after. Then let's see the changes. Okay. All right, so we are good. This is our before and after. So before and then after. So let's click OK, and the changes will be made. Okay, now that the changes have been made, we can turn it off and on. And if you feel like it's actually too saturated, for me, I like the way it is looking right now. So just a little bit of the color balance we're going to be using. Okay, so on the color, let's start with the highlight, and then bring this the way up and bring this back, the blues, mid-tones, take this one up. Okay, so let's decrease the red. Okay, and then add in some blues. All right, so you can create more dramatic look. So from this to this, just stunning, right? Yeah. Just gonna create an exposure panel, then increase the exposure like this, and create more contrast. I'll create one more layer, which is yeah, I'm looking for saturation. Yes, here in saturation. And what I want to achieve with this is to just give it vibrance. Yes, let's remove this and get vibrance instead. And then increase the vibrance for the mid-tone to have something like this. All right, so this is where I'm going to end the edit, and we can group everything together. Let's group them together, group, and let's see before and then after, before and after. So this is the way I'm actually going to edit the photo to create an amazing portrait. This is natural light and more can be done. Okay, so see you in the next video. Thank you guys for staying tuned. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. All right, so thank you guys.